I bet you didn't know the story of Thomas Whitaker, the miser of Millfield. Nestled in the heart of the English countryside lay Millfield, a village as picturesque as a landscape painting. The cottages, with their thatched roofs and ivy-clad walls, seemed to have been plucked straight from a storybook. Rolling green hills embraced the quaint cottages, and the river Avon snaked through it all, reflecting the azure sky. The river was the lifeblood of the village, providing water for the mills and a serene backdrop for the villagers' daily lives. But beauty can be deceiving. Beneath the charming exterior there lurked a darkness that tainted the village's soul. For in this idyllic village lived a man whose heart was as barren as a winter field, Thomas Whitaker. His presence cast a long shadow over Millfield, a shadow that grew darker with each passing year.
My wealth is mine alone. I have earned every penny through sheer determination and hard work. These villagers, they do not understand the value of hard work. They toil, yes, but they lack the vision and the drive that I possess. Always coming to me with their hands outstretched, expecting charity, I owe them nothing. They must learn to fend for themselves, just as I did.
Thomas was a man of considerable wealth, his coffers overflowing from the many mills he owned in the village. His mills were the heart of Millfield's economy, yet he shared none of his fortune with those who helped build it. But his wealth did not bring him joy. Instead, it seemed to deepen his discontent, a constant reminder of the emptiness within. It only fueled his greed, turning his heart into a cold, hard stone. He became more isolated, more distrustful of those around him. He hoarded his riches, his eyes always hungry for more, his soul blind to the plight of those around him. The villagers' suffering was invisible to him, their pleas for help falling on deaf ears.
Compassion, compassion is for the weak. It is a luxury I cannot afford. I built my fortune with my own 2 hands, and I'll not squander it on those who cannot fend for themselves. They must learn the harsh realities of life.
The villagers whispered tales of his miserliness, their voices hushed, their gazes wary. They spoke of his cold heart and his unyielding nature, a man who had no room for kindness. They knew the sting of his indifference, the sharp edge of his refusal when they came to him in times of need. Their disappointment was a constant companion, a reminder of the man who held their fate in his hands. Thomas Whitaker, they murmured, was a man who had forgotten the meaning of compassion, a man who sowed only seeds of misery. His legacy was one of sorrow, a testament to the emptiness that wealth without kindness can bring. Yet despite his coldness, the villagers found solace in each other. They banded together, their shared hardships, forging bonds of friendship and support. In the face of Thomas's indifference, they discovered the true meaning of community. The children of Millfield, unaware of the darkness that loomed over their village, played and laughed, their innocence a beacon of hope. They were the future, a future that held the promise of change. And as the sun rose over Millfield each day, it brought with it the possibility of a new beginning, a chance for the village to heal, to grow, and to remember that even in the darkest of times there is always hope. In stark contrast to Thomas lived Mary, a widow who knew hardship like the back of her hand. Her life was a testament to resilience and compassion, a beacon of light in a world often shrouded in darkness. Life had dealt her a cruel blow, snatching away her husband just a year after their marriage. The loss was profound, leaving her with a void that seemed impossible to fill. Left with nothing but a tiny cottage and a heart full of grief, Mary could have easily succumbed to despair. The walls of her home echoed with memories of happier times, and the silence was often deafening. But she chose another path, the path of kindness. Instead of allowing her sorrow to consume her, she transformed it into a source of strength and empathy.
Though life has been unkind, I will not let bitterness take root in my heart. My door will always be open to those in need. I will be a source of comfort and support, no matter how little I have to give.
Mary had a heart as big as the sky, her spirit as resilient as an oak. Her strength was not just in her ability to endure, but in her capacity to give, even when she had so little. She shared her meager meals with anyone who came knocking at her door, her hands always ready to help, her voice a soothing balm to troubled souls. Her cottage became a sanctuary for the weary and the lost.
Here, take this bread. It's not much, but it's made with love. Remember, we are stronger together. In unity, we find the strength to overcome any adversity.
The villagers, touched by her generosity, often sought solace in her presence, finding warmth in her gentle smile and strength in her unwavering spirit. Her home became a place where burdens were shared and hearts were healed. She believed in the power of community, in the strength found in unity. Mary knew that together they could face any challenge, and she made it her mission to foster a sense of togetherness among the villagers. She understood that life's burdens were lighter when shared, its joys sweeter when celebrated together. Her gatherings were filled with laughter and tears, a testament to the deep connections she nurtured.
Together we can face any storm. We must hold on to hope and help one another. In times of trouble, our unity will be our greatest strength.
And so she became the heart of Millfield, her compassion a beacon of hope. Her actions spoke louder than words, inspiring others to follow her example. In the face of Thomas's relentless greed, Mary's kindness shone even brighter. Her legacy was one of love and unity, a stark contrast to the selfishness that threatened to tear the village apart. Mary's garden, once barren, now flourished with life, much like the hearts she touched. Each seed she planted was a symbol of hope, a promise of better days to come. The children of the village, who once knew only hardship, now played around her cottage, their laughter a melody of joy and renewal. They were the future, nurtured by Mary's unwavering love. As Mary looked out at the horizon, she knew that her journey was far from over. There were still many hearts to heal, many lives to touch, and with each new day, she embraced her role with grace and determination. The village of Millfield thrived not because of wealth or power, but because of the compassion and unity that Mary had sown. Her legacy lived on in every act of kindness, every gesture of love. Mary's story was a reminder that even in the darkest times, a single act of kindness could light the way. Her compassion was a beacon, guiding the village through the storms of life. And so, the village of Millfield stood as a testament to the power of compassion, a place where hope and unity prevailed, all thanks to the unwavering spirit of a widow named Mary. The spring of 1802 arrived in Millfield draped in a shroud of silence. The skies, once a vibrant blue, turned a pale, washed-out grey. The birdsong that usually filled the air was replaced by an eerie stillness. The river Avon, once brimming with life, dwindled to a mere trickle, its song reduced to a mournful whisper. The rains had ceased. Days turned into weeks, the sun beating down relentlessly, baking the earth until it cracked and groaned. The once lush fields turned brown and brittle, the crops withering under the unforgiving sun. The villagers watched with growing dread as their hopes for a bountiful harvest shriveled and died along with their crops. Fear, like a venomous serpent, slithered into their hearts. The whispers of drought, at first hesitant and hushed, grew louder, echoing through the village square, seeping into their homes, haunting their dreams. The spectre of hunger loomed large, casting a long, dark shadow over Millfield. The villagers, their faces etched with worry, turned to Thomas, their last hope in this time of despair. A delegation of villagers, their faces etched with desperation, stood before Thomas Whitaker's imposing manor. The manor, a symbol of wealth and power, loomed over them, casting a long shadow that seemed to mirror their plight. Their clothes, usually bright and cheerful, hung limp and dusty, reflecting the parched state of their fields. The once fertile land, now cracked and barren, told the story of a relentless drought that had drained the life out of their village. In their hands they carried the weight of their plea, a plea for help, for a meager share of Thomas's abundant grain reserves to tide them over the drought. The grain stored in large silos was more than enough to feed the entire village for months.
Please, Mr. Whitaker, we beg of you. Our fields are barren and our wells have run dry. Just a little grain to get us through. Our children are starving. They haven't had a proper meal in days, and we fear for their lives.
Thomas listened to their pleas, his face an impassive mask. He stood there unmoved, as if their words were nothing more than the rustling of leaves in the wind. His cold, calculating eyes scanned the faces of the villagers, seeing not their desperation, but only a threat to his precious wealth. To him, their suffering was a mere inconvenience, a distraction from his comfortable life. He heard their pleas, but they fell on deaf ears. The cries of the hungry and the desperate were nothing more than background noise to him. He saw their suffering, but it did not move him. The sight of emaciated children and weary parents did not stir any compassion within his heart. Greed had choked the last vestiges of humanity within him. The wealth he had amassed over the years had built a wall around his heart, a wall that no amount of pleading could penetrate.
The drought is your misfortune, not mine. I have worked hard for my wealth, and I will not squander it on those who have not. I earned my wealth, and I will not part with it for those who are too lazy to help themselves. Your suffering is not my concern.
With a dismissive wave of his hand, he shut the door on their pleas, their hopes, their very survival. The heavy wooden door closed with a finality that echoed through the silent courtyard, leaving the villagers to face their grim reality alone. The villagers, their spirits crushed, turned away from the manor. They walked back to their homes, knowing that they had been abandoned in their time of greatest need. The village, once a place of laughter and life, now stood silent and desolate. The drought had taken its toll, and without help the future looked bleak. A single tear rolled down the cheek of a child, a silent testament to the suffering and hopelessness that had gripped the village. As the sun set over the barren fields, the villagers could only hope for a miracle, a glimmer of hope in the darkness that had enveloped their lives. The news of Thomas's callousness spread through the village like wildfire, fanning the flames of despair. But even as darkness threatened to engulf them, Mary's spirit remained unbroken. She refused to let Thomas's greed extinguish the flame of hope that flickered within her.
We are a community, and we will face this challenge together. No one should go hungry while others have to spare.
Mary, despite her own meager resources, threw open the doors of her humble cottage. Her well, the only one in the village that hadn't run dry, became a lifeline. Day and night she tirelessly drew water, her arms aching, her resolve unwavering. She shared her dwindling stores of food, her every action a testament to the boundless compassion that resided within her. Her words, imbued with a quiet strength, resonated through the village, rekindling the spirit of unity that Thomas's greed had sought to extinguish. Narrator, don't forget to subscribe to Hyder.A and hit the bell icon for more inspiring stories like this one.